Ada for picking out the peas for my dinner in front of my mom's boss. Hello. I'm 20 years old and reside in the United Kingdom with my mother, 48. Mom held a little supper for a few coworkers. Her spouse has a large property with a large garden where we sat. I dislike dining and eating with strangers, but I was forced to sit with them, which was a little inconvenient. They prepared stuff that I dislike. It had peas, which I dislike. My mother is aware of this, but I was not permitted to consume other foods since it would raise a commotion, and there was no time to prepare other foods. I was also not permitted to manufacture anything myself. I took the peas for my meal to give to the ducks in the pond near my stepfather's home because I know ducks adore peas. They should avoid eating bread since it is unhealthy for them. With my spoon, I placed all of the peas in a little cup. Mom's supervisor, who was seated across from me, inquired what I was doing, so I told him. He remained quiet for a while before saying okay. We didn't communicate much, but he would sometimes ask me a question, to which I would respond. Finally, he offered me some more peas that he had taken from his own supper. I inquired whether he disliked peas as well, and he said, I like peas, but I also like ducks, so they may have my peas, which I thought was kind of him. He also handed me PS5 to buy myself ice cream after I fed the ducks, which was incredibly kind of him. We didn't chat much, but I thought he was a lovely guy who I loved. But before he went, he spoke to my mother, and she approached me, furious or unhappy. I told her I didn't spend all of supper plucking out peas. I ate the spaghetti parts as well, although there were a lot of peas to separate. She questioned why I did it in front of everyone since it's really impolite to do so at a meal. It demonstrates that you dislike the dish and are uninterested in the visitor. That's precisely what I thought, thus it's correct. Mom said that she recognizes that that is not appropriate, but if she thinks it's essential, like she did before supper, it probably is, and I should remember that. There were folks who were turned off by others, handling their food weirdly or not connecting with them. Mom's employer advised her before he went that I should eat something different next time since I didn't eat much. I'm not a huge eater, so it's sort of typical for me, but he has no idea. But the point is that he said something hurtful to her that I might have prevented if I hadn't picked the peas out of my dish. I hadn't considered it. I realize that's not a good thing, but my mother was visibly upset, and I believe that's a little too much. It's just a supper, and he's a good guy. I don't believe he's upset with her. I was simply wondering if I wasn't missing anything significant here that would make it an thing to do. Ada, thank you very much. Edit. I'm autistic and don't like peas since the texture bothers me. I rely on my mother since I am unable to live on my own, but I am learning. I had no idea it might alter the meaning of the narrative until it was pointed out to me. Thank you for your contributions so far. Update. Some people suggested that I discuss it with my mother. I did, and everything went swimmingly. She apologized and said that it was not my fault. She told me how it went, and I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. Mom was tense since she seldom hosted meals. She wanted her coworkers to enjoy it. They asked for the recipe. She forgot I don't eat peas since she was so preoccupied with her coworkers. She asked me to dine with them since her colleagues' children ate with them at her colleague's place. She didn't want to make a big deal about my autism since I may be unpleasant when others inquire about it. Her head was all over the place, she remarked, all evening. That's why, I told her, I could have produced my own meals. That was challenging for her since she didn't have time for it. I didn't notice since I'm not very good at keeping track of time. I requested her to communicate with me more clearly the next time and be more specific about what I can and cannot do. She said she would, and she added I could help her cook the following time. Almost every remark mentioned how kind her employer was. He wasn't likely furious or unhappy with her. This is something I told my mother. She apologized to me again, despite the fact that she was not furious with me at all. She felt ashamed because she had attempted to persuade me to behave normally, which she should not act done. She took it out on me on the spur of the moment. I also apologized since I had no idea that may have been relevant for her job position. I simply assumed they were pals. He told her I should eat what I wanted the next time, since it bothered him that Mother was so concerned with looks that I had to be uncomfortable throughout dinner. He also said that supper was delicious and that he is grateful to have her on his team at work. He's a kind guy and a decent supervisor. I wrote him a thank you email together with my mother. Last but not least, I gave the peas to the ducks. I believe they were pleased. The issue with ducks is that they never say that to you. At the pond, I had 2 scoops of ice cream. I also ordered one for my mother since I had some money left over. It was a little melted when I got home since I had to walk 5 minutes, but she still appreciated it and thought I was fantastic. Thank you for your time. She stated it was okay since I did make a big deal out of it, didn't become loud, and didn't walk away. She admires me for remaining at the table and thinking about the ducks. We came to the conclusion that we had both learned something. I learned new things since I now have a better understanding of work meals and politeness. She learned things since she now understands how to communicate and explain things to me better in order to prevent tension. Persons in the comments also suggested that her supervisor may have worked with autistic people in the past. It was a little sad when I asked my mother. His younger brother was autistic, but he passed away 10 years ago. It made him sad since he adored him. Story 2. AITA for telling my stepson his mother isn't welcome in my house. Our 2 children, Tim, 29 male, and Jesse, 49 male, are the products of my 37 male and 49 male marriage, 25 male. Tim is the result of his mother intoxicating her spouse at a high school graduation party after years of having a crush on him, which resulted in the creation of Tim. They never dated or had a romantic connection, according to her, and her husband mostly engaged with her to care for their son, Tim, she claims. 4 years later, she abandons Tim to spend the weekend with his newborn son Jesse and never comes back. To make a long story short, my husband was awarded exclusive custody of Tim, and Tim's mother agreed to my husband's decision to adopt Jesse. Until Tim became 17 years old, she stayed out of their life and worked hard to mend her way back into theirs. Awesome. Jesse doesn't want anything to do with her, but according to her husband, Tim has been living with her since they reunited. My husband and I live in one house on his family's farm, while his parents live in another house nearby. Tim always brings his mother along with him when he comes to visit, and the visit is usually for a few days at a time. During my initial meeting with her, she said stuff like, "DH, had better not try to date me while I'm here," and other such things. I informed Tim that I was the same age as him. 1 or 2 people have commented on my decision to remain at home with my children. She has to put up with her dog begging at the table and food from other people's plates, and everyone has to put up with it. My spouse, like his parents, mostly ignores her and is preoccupied with his young child. The MIL has said that she would only accept her presence so that she may see her granddaughter without being bothered. And I understand what you're saying. Here's where I may be able to help out as the AH. Obviously, I have no influence over what takes on at IL House, which is a good thing, but the last several visits with her have left me feeling intellectually and emotionally exhausted, which is unfortunate. Tim is not disabled in any manner, and neither is his mother. She is not related to any members of the family, and as a result, there is no compelling reason for her to accompany him on such a frequent basis. The 2 of us would hang around and play games at our place when Tim came over. His mother would always join him. They've arrived in town, and Tim expressed an interest in joining us for a game yesterday night, and his mother confirmed that she would be joining us as well. No, I said. Tim inquired as to why this was the case, and I said that I no longer wanted his mother to live in my house. Even though my husband asks her to respect me, she continues to say inappropriate things. He is an adult, and his mother does not need to come monitor, and honestly, she is not an important part of my husband's life that I should try to placate. After hearing what I had to say, Tim called my husband at work to tell him what I had said, and my husband agreed with me. As a result of this, Tim's mother is accusing me of being an AH and interfering in their family life. We wouldn't have a problem if Tim were disabled or a little child, but we're all grown up now. AITA.